How's it going, everyone? Happy Friday. I hope you guys had a terrific week. The weekend is here, and today I want to talk about Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, as you guys know, he's best known for playing Theo Huxtable in the Cosby Show. But there are things that I recently learned from him that I didn't know before. I had a chance to see his interview on Hot 97 and The Breakfast Club because he's going on a press tour to promote his fourth album, which is called Hiding in Plain View. Now, I did not know that he had made albums before. I did not know that I just didn't know this side about him. I just only knew Malcolm-Jamal Warner, the actor, who played in the Cosby Show, and also Malcolm and Eddie, which is an underrated show, by the way. So I didn't know anything about it. So this is his fourth album called Hiding in Plain View, and he's going on a press tour, like I said, to promote his album. I also didn't know that he won a Grammy in 2015 for Best Traditional R&B Performance, which is called Jesus Children, with Robert Glasper and Lala Hathaway. So congratulations to Malcolm-Jamal Warner on getting that Grammy. And this year, this past year, 2022, he was nominated for a Grammy for Best Spoken Word Poetry. So he's clearly is having success outside of the Cosby Show. And as I got to know more about him, you never heard Malcolm-Jamal Warner in any scandals or anything like that. Why? Because he was raised by two parents who showed him what's right and wrong. It was interesting, and he said this in The Breakfast Club, that when in the first year when the Cosby Show, the ratings went through the roof, his mom told him that basically, and I'm gonna paraphrase, to not get his hopes up because you never know if the following year or so the show could get canceled. So his mother taught Malcolm the importance of longevity and to stay grounded. Malcolm's father instilled him the arts since he was little. So it was interesting to learn that in the summers in Chicago, when Malcolm was like 9 or 10, he would read a book or poetry, and his father would make him write a book report about it. So, and the reason he did that was because he wanted to show Malcolm the importance of his history, of his background, where he comes from and all that stuff. Langston Hughes and all these other bunch of names that he studied. So Malcolm said that he was a poet before he was an actor. So he started acting in community theater before he even went on television. And he also played basketball as well when he was little, and he thought he was going to be a basketball player. But he found his true calling in acting. He loves theater, and I feel that any actor who's serious about the craft, doing theater makes you a great actor. Film and TV is where the money is, but in theater, on stage, is where you really become great at your craft. So that was great to hear from Malcolm-Jamal Warner. He started directing when he was 16. He even directed several episodes of The Cosby Show. One of my favorite episodes that he directed is the one where Claire Huxtable basically ripped apart Vanessa Huxtable because Vanessa lied and went somewhere in Baltimore and she got caught. So it's that performance that Claire Huxtable and Vanessa Huxtable in that one scene, I believe this was season 7, season 8, it was phenomenal. But Malcolm-Jamal Warner directed that episode. And like I said, Malcolm and Eddie is an underrated show. Both on the Hot 97 interview and the Breakfast Club, he said that, and even Eddie Griffin had his own issues with Malcolm and Eddie show, with the writers and everyone else. Malcolm and Eddie Griffin, Malcolm-Jamal Warner, they didn't get along, but they understood the check. And also, the similarity between both of them is that they were both miserable working on that show. Both Malcolm and Eddie, they come from two different worlds of comedy. Malcolm, he comes from NBC, where he was part of a show that it wasn't stereotypical. It showed you the importance and value of a great African-American family. And you go from NBC to UPN, which UPN was more about the stereotypes of Black sitcoms. So it was a challenge shift for Malcolm. And as for Eddie Griffin, he had issues with the writers. He said there were 14 writers, and I believe 12 of the 14 were white writers. And he said that they had no idea what it was like to be an African American or African American businessman. And this was on the Vlad interview that Eddie Griffin said this. But Malcolm and Eddie is an underrated show, and it was interesting that Malcolm says on the Hot 97 that if they were just to make it 100 episodes or more, he could have gotten more residual checks and stuff like that. But the show was canceled after 88 episodes. They were 12 episodes short of reaching 100. So I wish they would have reached, but they didn't. Another thing, I found out about this about a year ago, and that is that Malcolm-Jamal Warner, he was one of the executive producers, and he did the voice in the animated series The Magic School Bus. And The Magic School Bus, I grew up watching the show with my sister in the 90s, but I had no idea until last year that Malcolm-Jamal Warner worked on that. I know a lot of people didn't know about that either, but if you watch that interview on the Breakfast Club, Charlemagne the God brings that up. But yeah, he's had a tremendous body of work, and he's still working to this day. It's not just the Cosby Show. Yes, that's where he's mostly known, but he's done more things. Malcolm and Eddie, The Magic School Bus, putting out albums, working in jazz music. He's doing so much. So we gotta give credit where credit is due. There was one other thing that I needed to mention. What was it? There was one other thing that he mentioned in the interview. I can't believe I forgot to write it down. I just had it in my mind on top of that. You know what? I'll just leave it there. It'll probably come back to me later on, but these are interesting things to learn about Malcolm-Jamal Warner. And it was so great listening to him. A very well-educated, high intellectual artist. It was just phenomenal. You should watch his interviews on both High 97 and The Breakfast Club. So they're both great. He mentioned similarities here and there in both interviews, but I feel like in The Breakfast Club you get to hear a little bit more about him than Hot 97. So I highly recommend you should check out those interviews. I had to listen to some of these albums because I did not know that he put out albums and stuff like that, so I gotta listen to it. Thank you for watching this video. Hit that thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And as always, be safe. And may God bless you all. Have a great weekend.